A stone plaza in the Andes at dusk. 80,000 soldiers camped on the slopes outside. Inside the square, hidden in the buildings, 168 Spaniards who have been standing in their armor since dawn.
And several of them, by their own written accounts, have wet themselves from fear. That's in the sources. They thought they were about to die.
Then, the emperor is carried in on a litter of gold, with attendants sweeping the ground in front of him, and about 6,000 unarmed retainers.
A friar walks out with a book. The emperor examines it, finds it says nothing to him, and drops it on the ground.
And a cannon fires, and the doors open, and within 2 hours, the Inca Empire has effectively ended.
168 men, 12 million people. And here's the thing, the numbers are real, and they're also completely misleading.
Because that isn't what happened. That's what it looked like on the day.
The empire he captured had already been tearing itself apart for 4 years, and the reason it was tearing itself apart had arrived from Europe before any European did.
So, let's build it properly. What was the Inca Empire in 1532?
Tawantinsuyu, the 4 parts together. And it's astonishing, roughly 2,500 miles north to south along the spine of the Andes.
Modern Ecuador down through Peru and Bolivia into Chile and Argentina, something like 10 to 12 million people.
And built in under a century. Most of that expansion happens in about 90 years.
With no writing system as we'd define it, no wheeled transport, no draft animals bigger than a llama, no iron.
And yet, 25,000 miles of engineered road, suspension bridges of woven grass over gorges, rewoven every year by the communities beneath them.
Relay runners, the chasqui, carrying messages faster than horsemen in Europe, fresh fish supposedly arriving in Cusco from the coast.
Storehouses along the roads stocked with food and cloth and weapons. Terraced agriculture on mountainsides. Stonework so precise you can't fit a blade between the blocks.
And the record-keeping was done on knotted cords, quipu, numbers, censuses, tribute accounts, possibly more.
There was no money and no market in the way we'd understand it. You paid your tax in labor, the mita. So many days a year working the state fields or the roads or the army.
And in exchange, the state fed you in a bad year. It was a genuine welfare bargain, backed by force.
Now, the crack, and it opens about 5 years before Pizarro arrives, from a cause nobody in Peru could have identified.
Smallpox, or something like it, moving south from Central America through indigenous trade and contact networks, running far ahead of any actual Spaniard.
The disease conquered the Andes before the conquistadors got there. It just didn't leave a report.
And it kills the emperor, Huayna Capac, around 1527, and it kills his designated heir at the same time.
Which is the worst possible outcome because succession wasn't strictly by firstborn. The ruler chose the most capable son.
So there's no automatic rule to fall back on. 2 sons, 2 power bases, and a civil war.
Huáscar and Cusco, the ancient capital, with the priesthood and the traditional nobility.
And Atahualpa in the north around Quito, with something far more important, the veteran army and its generals.
And the fighting runs for something like 4 years across the whole empire, vicious at scale, with real atrocities on both sides.
Atahualpa wins. His generals capture Huáscar and take Cusco, and by 1532 he's moving south to be crowned.
So, the 16th of November, 1532, Pizarro puts his men inside the buildings around the empty plaza.
Atahualpa comes in with thousands of attendants, most carrying nothing but ceremonial axes and slings, dressed for a reception.
The friar, Valverde, comes forward with a breviary and an interpreter and delivers the requerimiento, a legal demand to submit to the Spanish crown and the church.
Through a translator who barely spoke the language, about concepts with no equivalent in it.
Atahualpa asks by what authority. He's handed the book. He holds it to his ear, hears nothing, and throws it down.
And that's the legal pretext. The signal goes up.
What follows isn't a battle. Cannon fired into a packed crowd in an enclosed square. Cavalry with bells on the harnesses riding into unarmed men.
And steel swords against cotton armor, in a crush where nobody can run because the walls are in the way.
Thousands killed, and not one Spanish death. Pizarro's own hand is cut by his own men reaching in to protect Atahualpa because a dead emperor was worth nothing.
And the army outside, the 80,000, do nothing because their commander is taken and the entire structure ran through him.
That's the thing about a centralized divine monarchy. Take the center, and the whole thing goes quiet.
Then the ransom, which is one of the strangest transactions in history.
He offers to fill a room with gold. A room about 22 feet by 17, filled to a line above his head, and twice more with silver.
And he delivers. Over roughly 8 months, caravans come in from all over the empire.
Temple plating stripped off walls, life-sized golden figures, worked pieces of astonishing craftsmanship, centuries old.
And nearly all of it melted into bars on the spot. Almost nothing survives. That's an artistic loss we can't measure.
And here's the detail that tells you he never grasped what he was dealing with. He thought he was buying his release.
He'd offered a ransom, and in his world, a ransom was honored. He kept governing from captivity. He had his brother, Huáscar, killed while a prisoner himself.
Which was rational internally and suicidal externally. It removed the one alternative the Spanish could have installed instead of him.
And it also proved to Pizarro that Atahualpa could still give orders that got obeyed anywhere in the empire, which made him too dangerous to keep.
Reinforcements arrive under Almagro, who wants a share and doesn't want to honor a ransom he wasn't part of.
And rumors spread through the camp that the general Rumanyahu is marching to rescue him, probably invented or at least inflated.
The trial is a farce. Charges include revolting against the Spanish king, whom he'd never heard of a year earlier, and polygamy and idolatry.
The sentence is burning, which for him is not just death. The body must be preserved for the afterlife. Burning destroys that.
So he accepts baptism to have the sentence commuted, and they garrote him instead. 26th of July, 1533.
He converted to be strangled rather than burned. That's the whole encounter in one image.
And then the aftermath, which lasts far longer than people think.
They install a puppet. He dies within months. They install another, Manco Inca, a younger brother.
Who plays along, watches the Spanish loot Cusco and abuse his family, and then escapes and raises a massive rebellion in 1536.
He besieges Cusco with an enormous army and nearly retakes it. He fails largely because his forces had to disperse for the planting season.
And then a rump Inca state holds out in the mountains at Vilcabamba for another 36 years.
Until 1572, when the last ruler is captured and beheaded in the square at Cusco.
Meanwhile, the Spanish immediately start fighting each other over the loot. Pizarro and Almagro go to war. Almagro is executed.
And Pizarro is murdered in his own palace in Lima in 1541 by Almagro's supporters. He died with his throat cut on the floor of his dining room.
Nobody in this story ends well.
And the population collapse over the following century is the real catastrophe. Waves of disease, plus the mining draft at Potosi, which was close to a death sentence.
The demographic loss across the Andes over that century is one of the largest in recorded history.
So, the verdict on Atahualpa, because it's fashionable to call him naive.
I think he made one error, and it's a specific one. He evaluated the Spanish as a military force and concluded correctly that they were negligible.
What he couldn't evaluate was that they were operating under rules he'd never encountered. Seizing a sovereign under a flag of parley was outside his entire framework of war.
And the deeper thing is the structure. An empire where every decision, every loyalty, every order runs through one sacred person.
It's incredibly efficient, right until someone puts their hands on that person.
A state with one irreplaceable man at the top isn't strong. It's a single point of failure wearing a crown.
This was History But Better podcast, episode 6.